welcome to the Astrology in You podcast. I'm Kerry Hourigan. Today we'll be looking at the new moon in Scorpio coming up on the 25th of October 2022, the partial solar eclipse, and we'll touch on the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, and Mars, its co-ruler, and other events that are happening as well. But firstly, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the original land carers, the Awappical people, where this podcast is recorded. I give my deepest respect to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. Just a reminder before we start, you can get a free mini astrology report that includes a very detailed birth chart from Astrology in You. I created a video to show you how to create a birth chart with transits at astro.com, which is really handy in following along with whatever you're doing in astrology. You can also find the podcast on iTunes and YouTube, and any resources mentioned in the podcast will have links in the show notes below. And if you receive the newsletter, you will have access to the new moon in Scorpio through the houses. So as you can imagine, there are countless ways these energies can be expressed, and that depends on your individual circumstances and where the transiting new moon is. So I've put together some general interpretations to help you understand these powerful energies better. So the new moon in Scorpio will be happening on the 25th of October 2022 at 2 degrees and 0 minutes, depending on your location. To see where this specifically relates to you, look to the house or the life area this will be transiting in your own chart. The new phase with the sun and the moon together is where we set an intention to begin a new cycle, and in this case it is with the archetype of Scorpio. The new phase is a subjective phase with instinctual, random impulses, urges and spontaneous experiences. Absolute freedom is required initially that leads to a more intentional direction as we receive feedback from others or the environment. In evolutionary astrology, we equate the moon to our ego, which is our subjective filter to which we view the world from our own point of view. How we see the world is based on our childhood conditionings, cultures, societal conditionings, beliefs and experiences. And this is why we can have the same experience as someone else but see it differently. When we look at the archetype of Scorpio, we see that Scorpio is a yin sign that is fixed water, ruled by Pluto and ruling the 8th house, where energy moves back towards the center and we're sent within. This blending of archetypes can express themselves in a healthy and extreme distorted ways. Essentially, the Scorpio archetype represents the need to evolve our consciousness through facing our shadows and difficult situations. Once these are exposed, they can be readdressed and reviewed along with the feelings that are experienced. Dense emotions of low frequency such as shame, guilt, and unworthiness, etc., can be the gateway to the core issues causing the suffering and to investigate why these emotions are being experienced. Scorpio is where we experience death and rebirth within a transformational process. It is the evolutionary development of our soul. In saying this gives us the opportunity to evaluate, to seek out the good in this suffering, because in my opinion, there is always good in everything. And this requires a process, of course, and I always recommend Byron Katie for this transformation to take place. Katie says the bigger the suffering, the bigger the relief and the release. And it is when these things are mismanaged, the suffering continues. As Scorpio follows Libra, we feel lack in Libra. We also experience personal growth because of that lack. Scorpio is a very powerful energy and that brings evolution and change, and to do this requires intense emotional energy. An analogy is the caterpillar that transforms into the butterfly. And just on another note, if we don't look at these stressful experiences and get to the core issues of them, we are destined to repeat them over and over until we do. Now, on one side, general associations with Scorpio is empowerment, attraction, rebirth, value, fusion, intensity, renewal, and growth. On the distorted side, we can have powerlessness, abandonment, and destruction. So we can take the distorted side and look at what feelings, belief systems, thoughts and concepts we have and can be used to find the truth behind those experiences. And by doing this, we allow what doesn't serve us to die, and we can rebirth the new that is waiting to come in. The old ways act as barriers and obstacles, and these can drain us physically, mentally, energetically, emotionally, and spiritually. Spirituality is also associated with Scorpio because of the deep emotions and being able to feel that connection to ourselves and the all-loving, all-intelligent God consciousness. In evolutionary astrology, we also see Pluto in this way as well. And the co-ruler of Scorpio is Mars, and Mars gives us that push, that juice to keep us going forward, that drives us, it spurs us on. So the new moon in Scorpio will help us to be more conscious of what doesn't work anymore, for it to fall away and die, so we can let the new in. This could be very helpful to stressful, limiting beliefs that don't work, to clear past traumas, look to revisit your finances, and emotional problems such as shame, guilt, unworthiness, self-sabotage, and anger that is unhealthy. We can also create a healthy immune system and much, much more. But just thinking about it is nowhere near enough. You have to be involved, and that means you have to go into these emotions and memories. And of course, if you have great difficulty, then of course you seek out a professional counsellor. But it is the way to freedom. And what we need to do is to calm ourselves down with meditation. And meditation plays a crucial part in this. And when we're calm, we can act more rationally. We can view things objectively. And this will help understand our mind, which is the physical and emotional body combined. And in evolutionary astrology, we develop and mature through our emotional body. You have to feel the shift in your body. And of course, this is the work of Byron Katie, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and Louise Hay, just name a few. And there are countless people who work in this area. And by shifting these dense emotions of shame and guilt and unworthiness, etc., makes way to shift our vibrations to those higher frequencies of healthy emotions, such as appreciation, relief, gratitude, joy, peace and bliss. And we feel lighter when we're in these emotions. By making that choice, our health and our life improves. So go and look at these masters, and they all include meditation and help change your life and rid yourself of any of this toxicity. And that can even mean letting people go or relationships go. This is what Scorpio and Pluto do. This archetype brings things up from the deepest depths that we keep hidden or that are secret, to expose them so we can deal with them for change and development to take place. So the new moon in Scorpio is the ideal time to address what isn't working in your life, to let it go, finally and once and for all, because you know it needs to fall away and to free yourself. And I can promise you, when you do the process of Byron Katie, which is only one way of doing it, and I'm sure that your intuition will guide you to other people, that always include meditation, and the freedom and liberation you feel when this shifts within you is amazing, to say the least. And also, it's a good time to remind you of the mantra in evolutionary astrology that relates to Scorpio, and it is, I metamorphosize myself with evolving self-reliance. So when we do these meditations and we look at these things, this transformation takes place, increases our own self-reliance. It's just incredible. So just quickly, other things that are going on at the moment, we have Venus and the new moon are all at 2 degrees of Scorpio, relating to personal development in values, our needs, personal resources, and our subjective nature and our function in our world. There's also an eclipse, which is incredibly intense and powerful. This is a partial solar eclipse, and eclipses are always accompanied by intensity, and in Scorpio the intensity will only increase. So this intensity can be experienced several months after the event. And I mean, this year in itself has been an intense one, and that is said to continue. Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, is still in Capricorn, disclosing corruption, secrets, especially around the rich and powerful, to expose for change that is so needed to all kinds of structured systems. Mars, the co-ruler of Scorpio, is currently in Gemini, and Mars is the planet of action, but one must be mindful not to be scattered and keep that focus on what direction you're wanting to move in. Uranus is in conjunction with the North Node in Taurus, and Uranus is in retrograde, where we can revise, review, and even rebel against what doesn't work anymore, and we're also seeing that on a worldwide scale. And that is to move into our ideal future for our development and our evolution as a collective and as individuals. And when change is imminent and it is ignored, limitations must be breached, and this can be with sudden shocks, and this can create trauma as we have to adjust quite quickly. So in Taurus, we could see issues around finance and technology. Here in Australia, there has been hacks to telecommunications company called Optus, and Medibank, which is a private health insurance company, bringing great concerns to people in regards to their private and medical details. So just to wrap up, nurturing ourselves with the new moon in Scorpio. Medically, Scorpio rules the sexual organs, glands, intestinal biochemistry, elimination mechanisms. Some quick suggestions that you can do in the new moon in Scorpio: start a meditation practice. I can't tell you how important this is to practice balance, to be in your physical body, to relax your mind, which is the emotion and physical body combined. Take complete responsibility for all that you do or don't do, which creates self-knowledge. Begin to reconnect with yourself. Discard what no longer serves you, let it fall away and let it go. Value and appreciate yourself more. Look at any stressful belief systems, concepts, ideas, thoughts, anything that keeps you stuck, and take the Byron Katie process to transform that same experience, as it is the doorway to freedom. Look at your finances, including shared finances and resources. Now, before I go, you can find a link to a financial literacy course from my dear sweet friend Susan Hart. It includes astrology and the concept of money as well. And if you are not the master of your money, you'll be the slave to it. And Susan shows you how to become that master. Thank you for listening. Take good care of yourself. God bless, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.